Today we'll be talking about the Jets' salary cap allocations, where they're spending their money, and how it compares to the rest of the NFL. Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary, back with another video, and today I'll be talking about the New York Jets in comparison to the rest of the league. Before we get started today, I just wanted to mention you can follow on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the Just Jets podcast. New episodes come out every Monday until the season. Then we switch to Wednesdays, so we get a midweek episode. Also, if you haven't checked it out, we have Patreon, bonus Jets content, $5 a month, gets you weekly podcast, articles, player write-ups during the season. You'll get analytics. Whole lot of fun over there. Check that out too. Okay, so I'm going to go through the different positions on the New York Jets and tell you where they are in terms of salary cap. So, like, where are they spending their money in comparison to the league, what that means for this team, and everything else that is appropriate here. So, quarterback, no surprise here, the Jets are 20th in the NFL in spending money at their quarterback position. Obviously, with a rookie quarterback, someone in their second year, they're not going to be spending a ton of money. And you have Joe Flacco as a backup, Mike White on the roster as well. And neither of those guys are super costly. And when you are at this point, right, because obviously the goal is if Zach Wilson plays well, the Jets aren't going to be 20th. That number is going to be up in the top 10, hopefully. And if that's the case, you're going to be spending a lot of money on a position. So you're not going to be able to spend as much money elsewhere. So right now, while the Jets are spending, 20th in the bottom third of the league and where you are, paying your quarterback room, now you got to take advantage at some other positions, and we'll see if the Jets are able to do that. But really no surprise here that the Jets are 20th in the league, with the salary cap hit of their quarterback room. Now for a running back, this one I like, and this one I was a little surprised with, I guess, in a sense. 32, last in the league. So when you have two running backs who are young, one's a rookie, obviously, in Breece Hall, who was taken in the second round, and Michael Carter, who is a year two player, the Jets aren't paying them a ton of money. You also have Tevin Coleman on the roster, LaMichael Pirine still kicking around, but the Jets have the least expensive running back room, and I think they're going to have one of the more productive running back rooms. Is it going to be an Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard like 1-2 punch? Probably not. I mean, maybe it gets to that point eventually, but that's a very tall task, or like a Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I don't know if they're going to be at that level of production, but there's no reason that this 1-2 tandem can't be at least above average and have the Jets somewhere pushing close to top 10 in rushing. I think they're going to be probably like, I don't know, top 7 in rushing attempts. They're going to try to run the ball a lot. And if they have the ball a little bit more than they did last year, because the defense should improve from 2021 into 2022, I think the production is going to be there, and I think they'll get their value here. At tight end, they are 17th, which was a little bit surprising because he handed out a couple of contracts in the offseason to CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin. And you drafted a rookie, obviously, but I think right around that spot, which is just below the middle, I think that's fair for what the Jets have on their roster. And I think, again, this tandem should be very good. Are they going to be elite? I don't expect either of those two guys to come away with, like, I don't know, what's good numbers for a tight end, like 750 plus receiving yards. I don't think either of those guys will hit that, but I think they'll be able to be, key cogs in this offense. There might not be this one stud who comes away with a ton of receiving yards, but especially at the tight end position, both those guys in Conklin and Uzomah should be steady and significant improvements over what they had last year. This next positional group is a position of strength, and the Jets paid for it, which is wide receiver. Obviously, the Jets are pretty deep at this position. You had Corey Davis. That's where a lot of the money's going. Elijah Moore. You have Garrett Wilson. Braxton Berrios, you paid a pretty penny to in order to keep him around for both special teams and receiving depth. So the wide receiver room's a little expensive. I don't know if they're going to play like a top 10 unit yet. Again, I really like this core. But when you look around the league and you see some teams like Cincinnati or Tampa Bay and some of their receiving cores and some of the gaudy production that they have the ability to put up, it's a little intimidating. And I don't know if the Jets are quite there yet. I really like this room a lot. Don't get it twisted. I think they're going to be very, very good. And I'm okay with them being top 7. Because, again, you're trying to help out your young quarterback. And speaking of helping out the young quarterback, offensive line is the fifth most expensive offensive line in the league. Obviously, you paid pretty good money for Lincoln Tomlinson. Connor McGovern's making some money. The rest of the guys, not a ton. George Fant is, what was it, a $10 million deal when he was signed, but that's going to go up with his extension, you'd assume. AVT and Mekhi Becton aren't making a ton of money. They're first rounders, so they're getting paid, but it's not massive money. Still, there should be a very good unit. No issue with paying money on your offensive line, especially if they perform. I think they could be a top 10 unit. So again, no issue here. On the defensive side of the ball, defensive line, first most expensive defensive line in the NFL. Now this has to start to translate a little bit. The sack numbers have to go up. The pressure numbers have to go up. The quarterback hit numbers have to go up. And I think with Carl Lawson coming back, it should. I think Quinnen Williams takes a step forward in year 4, and I think Jermaine Johnson also helps. So I think the defensive line is by far their strongest position on the team, offense or defensive side of the football. And obviously they paid for it. They have a lot of depth at this position. They should be on paper very, very good at this position. And hopefully it results in more sacks and more quarterback hits and more pressures, because that's how this defense could be disruptive. Yes, bringing in Sauce Gardner in the draft was phenomenal. Yes, signing DJ Reed is something that I'm really excited about. But this defense is built on getting after the quarterback, and I think they need to start doing that a little bit more if they're paying that much money to the defensive line. So sack numbers got to go up. Linebacker 18th, which is a little surprising because CJ Mosley has a monster contract, but after that, no one's really getting paid. I think Quincy Williams is the next highest, and he's getting like a little over $2 million, so not a lot of money there. I don't love the depth at this position. I've made that pretty clear, but it is what it is. I think they're going to have to revamp that room a little bit more going into next year. It's also very dependent on what happens with CJ Mosley. He's getting up there in age. It's a little bit more reasonable to move on from him after this year if you see fit, based on his contract. Thank you to Mike McCagnon on that one. It depends on how much Quincy Williams pops this year. Obviously, they really like him a lot and his development. And then you have the two young guys in Sherwood and Nasruddin. We'll see what the Jets get out of there. But linebacker, not a very expensive position. Cornerback, 14th, which is about where I expected. Obviously, a 4th overall pick is going to get a decent amount of money right away. They paid okay money to DJ Reed to come in. Beyond that, it's a lot of day 3 guys, so not super surprising that they don't have a massive contract given out to a corner. So a little over middle of the pack. And safety is 14th, which they paid okay money for Jordan Whitehead to come in and play. I like Jordan Whitehead a lot. But beyond that, they don't really have a ton of depth. LaMarcus Joyner, if healthy, should be pretty good, but the injuries have been a little bit of an issue with him. So we'll see this year. But yeah, right now, defensive line is the most expensive position on this team. So I'd like to see some more production there. You also have offensive line and wide receiver in the top 10. And hopefully both of those positions improve, because if that's the case and they continue to get better and they continue to be good and look like a top 10 unit, then that means your quarterback will probably play pretty well also. So that's an added bonus there. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. What do you think of the Jets salary cap allocation compared to the rest of the league? Let me know. Get after me on social media. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe here if you are new, and I'll talk to you next time.